a minute here. All right, looks like we're leveling off now, so we'll get this answer hour started. Thank you everybody for joining us. This is for rehab providers. So I'm Brad Morse, Program Director for Campus Project, and I work with the Department of Labor and Industry, and with me I have Angie Andreessen. She is the business analyst for the project. She'll be assisting with the questions and answers, and also we have Mike Hill from CRT on the line with us. He helps with some of the questions we have around requirements and obviously those type of components. Just for everybody's information, this answer hour will be recorded, as they all are, and so we will be able to post this on the site after it's done. Let's go to the first agenda item. Or first, the agenda, sorry. So today we're going to go through some of the releases we had on the 24th. We'll talk about some known issues. We'll do our question and answer. We'll talk about upcoming sessions. If anybody has any questions in the meantime, feel free to just put the information in the chat. These are meant to be conversational. We've made great strides for the rehab community. I know we're not near where we need to be right now, but these answer hours and getting us some of these glimpses of some of the issues you're running into have been very helpful. Please put questions, comments in the chat, and we'll address them as we go through this short presentation, and then of course we'll stop and we'll have that conversation. Let's go to the next slide. So on the 24th, we had some updates go through the system. Normally, so everybody knows, our release schedule is to fix things and get them done by Thursday. Thanksgiving kind of threw that off last week, so we had some small items getting fixed, and we deployed them on Tuesday, just because we wanted to get something out, and we had some things we know we wanted to do. Some of the things that we were able to fix is for staff not seeing authorizations or access to rehab transactions. I will just preemptively tell you, on the issues list is support staff stuck in pending status and not being associated to the group or QRCs themselves or interns. We know that'll be on the issues tab as well. But the group registration and individual registration was not functional, so that's now should be working. R8 does not populate any data. We know the R8 now does populate data, so that's good. So you can actually do a plan closure. RCR started when when the claim shell does not pull up when retrieve draft status. Okay, this is very complicated, but basically, when you were filing an RCR onto a claim that that didn't match in the system, it wasn't pre-populating data, it wasn't allowing anything to save. We actually worked with a couple people on that. We were able to get that to work. The current firm services invoice was incorrect. We worked on that. And then the email receipt not showing notices or emails for the rehab transaction. So those ones are all taken care of. And then let's go to the issues, and then we'll jump on some of these questions. Okay, known issues, group management, people stuck in pending. We are aggressively trying to find a solution for this. I said in the last answer hour, QRCs are in a unique position because of the way we license them and the way we had to migrate that data. This is causing a problem. and we are working on that, and we've got some ideas, so we're trying to get that working for you. Inability to create relationships. Again, that's part of that group management issue that we have up there. Empty or complete staff and interns tab in some instances. So that's something we were working on. And then confusion with the R form buttons. Angie, do you want to elaborate on what the confusion for the R form buttons are?
Yeah, I've just had a couple of people mention to me that they aren't sure where to click to file the forms. I do have a really quick reference video that I'm going to add to the website with that. It's very simple. There are two, essentially, when you get to your rehab transaction, there are two buttons along the top, but one of the buttons has an arrow pointing at the other button, which is a little counterintuitive. So I'll get that reference video up on the website for you all, just to clear up that confusion.
Yeah, thanks, Angie. All right. Before we go any further, I saw stuff coming through in the chat, so let's take some of those questions and comments. And
all right. So for this one specifically, R3s. I tried to file an R3 that included a PPR. I added the page describing barriers, but there was nothing on the R3 form other than that to indicate that the PPR was part of the R3. The system would not let me submit the form, but there were no error messages. If it is submitted, will that cover my PPR need, or am I missing something? I think I would have to defer to Mike on that one.
This is Mike, and we did run into that situation. The thing that we found was the QRC was trying to file the PPR early using the R3. And you might remember it's 15 days before the PPR is due. Anything before that due date, the button is just not going to let you submit that. You can go ahead and complete the R3 and do that, but you can't do the PPR unless it's closer to that deadline date.
Thanks, Mike. Next question, R8 forms. I can access a new R8, but cannot get past the first screen to add cost and services info. And just scrolling through the chat, I see there are a number of you who seem to be having the same issue with the R8. So we can definitely get that documented. Mike, I'm not sure, do you know if that one has already been escalated or documented? Or is that a new one?
You know, I know that I've talked about it and I've sent it for bugs, but I don't know that it has yet.
Okay, so we'll circle up on that and make sure that that one is documented. You definitely need an easy way to search for cases. Shuffling through the entire list is a time waster. I believe that we did have a fix on the filtering for those cases. So that's something that I can certainly plan on demonstrating that at our Friday answer hour, just how to use that filter to your advantage to search for your clients in that list. In regards to QRC renewal pages, the supervisors that are listed are incomplete and incorrect. Barb, I'm going to have you go ahead and send an email to Mike and myself and just with your firm information so that we can take a look and see what is happening. That could be related to the issue where the users are stuck in pending status, but we can certainly look into that. So I'll go ahead and I'll have Mike put his email in the chat, and then I will also add mine to the chat. Another one for the R8. There needs to be a way to access a draft from the client rehab summary page. Okay, so I think saying rather than doing your draft, pulling your draft from the forms queue, the feedback is that it would be helpful to access the draft from the rehab case itself.
You know, that's something we could take as feedback, but the reason why that would be very problematic right now is the way permissions work is people have access to that page. able to have access to the claim. So they would see stuff in draft status. There's not a way to do document level permissions. It goes based on the page you're on, and then those documents are there. So that's why we do have it locked in under the other page. But we can definitely take that as input and go from there.
All right, I was not able to start a FollowUp R3 on one of my cases. I see that the one that was uploaded previously, but it doesn't allow me to start an updated R3. And is that an experience that anybody else has had? Paul, it may be helpful if you send us an email with that information in the case that you're looking at. We can determine kind of why that's happening.
Yeah, if I can elaborate on what Angie is saying, if you can send us the RT case number with that and send us pics of what you're seeing, send that encrypted, by the way, because it's got private data on there. It'd be very helpful for us. Thank you.
Right. I was not able to add a document type in the QRC intern renewal page. So typically with the documents, you wouldn't add a document type. You would choose from the dropdown. You should be able to update your document description if that's an option, but we can research that and just make sure that there's not a defect. Okay, I noticed the same thing as Tom. No question on the R3 that asks if you're filing the R3 in lieu of a PPR. So, Mike, I would assume that's the same.
It certainly sounds like it.
Okay. R forms on most files I have in Campus are not all there. RCRs are there, but missing quite a few R2s, R3s, and RNRs. Will these populate with time into Campus forms?
I have a question. Did you mainly file via the web portal, or were you filing paper forms? Because so some of the ones we were converting from those data tables we're about ready to start pushing those into the production environment. But these were paper pre-campus. That's we're going to want to get some more information, and with that, because you're actually missing filings that went into the system, I would recommend you report that to the help desk, and it's because we need somebody in CRT to do the research on those. So everything that was paper has been migrated, so you should see those. We do have some where people filed them through the web portal, and those are starting to trickle through and get in, just because we had to do a much more complex process to convert those. But if you file stuff paper, I would recommend contacting the help desk saying you're not seeing this filing. Give them all the information of the client, the type of form, and when you filed it. So that way they're able to do the research and find out where those are. Because we have migrated all the paper documents, and CRT is ultimately responsible for those records and making sure they are in their correct spot.
Next one, still missing one file on a rehab files. Info was sent with the survey and was emailed to Todd on 11/23. So I don't know if Todd is on the call, but we can follow up with Todd on that one.
Yeah, I know. If you emailed Todd last week, he's still working on that, and on all those where somebody's may have sent something, especially on those ones where we're trying to get people access to their files. We're still working on a plan on those, but I will follow up with Todd and let everybody know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It seems some people are able to access their R forms, but I don't have any forms showing in the submit filing. How come some have access and others don't? I thought this was shut off for everybody and we would get an email when it was available. That may be that may be part of the confusion with that button that I was explaining earlier. If you're clicking submit filing, it's not going to show you a list of R forms. You do have to click submit, or you do have to click R forms. I can see if I could demonstrate that really quickly as we keep working through the chat. All right. If an open QRC file was not uploaded back on 11/18, how do we get the case uploaded now?
Excuse me, would you say that again?
I think Mike's talking about they have an open case that needs to be added in their previous stuff. It needs to be added to their cases.
Oh, because they didn't submit it as a part of the survey?
Or got missed, I assume, right? Let's just clarify that.
If if that's the case, then what you can do is contact me by email, and I'll send you a note where you can provide me that information so that I can get that information and send it to IT so that information can be input.
Thanks, Mike. If we contacted you to let us know cases were missing from our cases in campus, when can we expect them to be added?
Yeah, that's good feedback right now, because we're trying to gather it so that we do a more of a one-shot process, because it is a development effort to do to put them in there. So doing them one at a time is very complex, considering we have to have our developers to help fix some of these issues. But I will make sure that that we take an action item, and Angie, can you take an action item to do a communication on when we will upload all that case information for them.
Yep, I can take that down. All right, let's run through a few more questions here. You cannot attach supporting attachments to R2s. It tells me that I am not authorized to access the page. How do I fix that? I believe that's a documented issue that we have for different types of users and different types of documents throughout the system. Amy, if you can elaborate, is it only when you're trying to attach the R2s? That would be helpful to know. We are waiting for some information on our group profile page to be corrected. I've requested assistance a few times, but it has not been resolved. Also, still not showing any cases for any of our QRCs. Are timelines available for these issues? So Terry, I can tell you I'm working to get your address information updated. I know we've been in touch. So I'm working with the people that need to actually make that change because it's a data change. As far as the cases, I'm going to have to defer to Mike.
And this is Mike. I guess I need to know what cases are that are missing. It may be cases that are we're looking at right now and the information is incomplete, or there's something problematic with it. As an example, there was a case in which they couldn't find the WID number, and I went into the old database, and clearly the name and the WID number did not match, and I could see where there was a problem. So contacted the QRC regarding that, and then sent the corrected information onto IT. But it is kind of a case-by-case basis, and there can be just a number off, whether it's a typo or whatever, that's kind of throws this whole system about whether you're going to get your file or not.
Okay, thanks, Mike. When I try to file an R8, it tells me that I'm not authorized to access that form. So we can definitely research that one a little bit. In attempting to file an R form, all of the information was incorrect. Our address, the insurer information, nothing was correct, and there did not seem to be a way to correct the information. Brad, do you want to talk about kind of how the file information typically is updated and why it's not updated via the...
Yeah, obviously, I mean, if it's your address is incorrect, that means your profile address is incorrect. So we definitely want to get that correct. That could be something from a migration issue or something from an old application. But if it's something on the, for us, when you link to a claim and you put in your information and you link to the claim and it attaches the insurer of record based on what has been submitted by the insurance carriers. So that's what sets up those entities. So do you have a situation where it's showing A insurance or whatever insurance company, and you think it should be B because that's who you've been working with and corresponding, please contact the help desk and send those over, because that's, we want to look at that. But yeah, when you're attaching to a claim, it goes to the insurer of record based on them filing that claim.
So, Brad, maybe the problem that they're trying to describe is the fact that you may have an insurance company of record, but it's a TPA that is actually handling all the adjusting, payment of all the bills, etc. And that's what they're used to dealing with, is the TPA versus the insurance company. So it would look different.
Oh yeah, thank you, Mike. I didn't think about that. Yeah, and if we have a known TPA, they do get put under the parties tab under the claim administrator, or so we do have them that we try to capture. Some of the migrated data didn't always capture that information, so that could be something. But yeah, the good call out, Mike. So there's a need that when you're filling out one of these forms to change the insurance carrier. Let me ponder that to see what we would do there, because then you're really not filing into the claim of record. So let me think about that first for a second.
All right. Next question. R forms, plan duration area. Can we have the ability to change this number as it populates with weeks to date, but is not always accurate?
This is Mike. I guess I'm not understanding what's being asked. Can you restate it?
Yeah, it just says R forms, plan duration area. Can we have the ability to change this number as populates with weeks to date, but it is not always accurate?
Well, that sounds like that's a problem if the dates that it's being put out is not matching up with what your records are showing. If that's the case, then we need to get an RT on that to get pictures of where the errors are and understand what the correct information should be.
Awesome, thanks, Mike. I entered all my cases with the new survey form, but only a few showed up in campus, and I can't do anything with the ones that are in there. Julie, I'll have you go ahead and send Mike an email with that information, and we can kind of work through that. Okay. When filing an R3 with signatures and/or 15 days, I was receiving an error message that the form was not submitted. I attempted the submission multiple times with the same error. I saved it as a draft to then find that the R3 was submitted multiple times. Is the form truly submitted based on the My Forms tab as opposed to the error message? Yeah, so it sounds like what might have happened there was you were getting an error message and should instead of You were getting an error message instead of a confirmation. So we can definitely take a look at that and try and replicate that on our end.
Yeah, if you see the form in the system, then it was successfully it has been accepted by the department. I would probably want to maybe take some time and just make sure it's not just in your My Forms queue, that it's actually on that rehab transaction. So when you click into it and you go to the rehab transaction, you can see that it's sitting there as one of the documents, because that's what the department sees. We don't see what's in your form.
All right. As a group administrator, when I click on a file, it still directs me to a page that says I do not have access. Sarah, just to confirm, I think you are a support professional, correct? Brad or Mike, I'm not sure. Did we allow support professionals that were related? Were they granted access to those files, or do we have a plan in place for that?
I believe if the group administrator gave them permissions, they should have that, correct?
Yeah, is this for a migrated file or for a new file?
Yeah, Sarah, if you could just give us that information.
But yeah, it's for a migrated file. Yeah, we're looking into it because we've had some issues with the migrated files. The way the data was captured in the old way didn't link. Obviously, there were no support professionals and any of those folks on the old files. It was mainly just with the QRC based on the QRC number. And in reality, yes, you should be able to see that. So we need to keep looking at that and get that fixed. We obviously know the new ones should obviously work. We do know there's just some deficiencies in that migration with not being able to associate people retroactively to the file itself, because that's one of the limitations with the data we had. But we can definitely look into that, because I thought that was something we'd worked on, and I thought I had that one pretty much fixed. So if we're still seeing it, put your firm name and your email in the chat, or send it to Mike. But Mike, send that to me, because I just want to look at that. That was something that I thought we had worked on.
All right. On the forms page, or wait, I missed one. On some cases, I can initiate an R3 form, but on others, I cannot. Tom, if you have any of those examples that you want to send to us, we could take a look at those and see maybe why you're not able to file those R3s. On the forms page, it would be helpful if a client name were referenced rather than the RT number. Some great feedback. We can definitely take that. All of my firm's cases are showing up in the My Rehab claims as the group administrator, except for our intern's cases. His caseload is not showing. Okay. So Sarah, I think you mentioned that you are also having the issue where when you click into one, you're not authorized to view it. Is that just his files as well? If you could just elaborate a little bit. Amy, I think we covered your paper form question. Do you have an estimated turnaround time on help desk emails and requests?
Well, they've gotten a lot faster. I know there's still some out there. It just depends on what the actual request is, and if they have to do a number of of triaging to look at it. So they want to get that number down. I know that Mike is taking a huge role in trying to help them with rehab questions and rehab issues. But I mean, right now I can't give you the exact estimated time. We do know that once we start to level out, that it will be much smoother. But be patient with them. We will, they are getting that information to people in the CRT unit to help answer those questions.
Great. All right. For the cases we did manually pre-campus, do we have to change the WID to the RT. When we are doing new progress reports in correspondence, do we have to start using the RT instead of the WID? Do we use RT or just the numbers?
No, you still use the WID identifies the employee, and that's the employee's identifier. The RT just stands for rehab transaction. That's the associated rehab for a particular claim, but the WID is with an individual person, so don't replace the WID with that number.
Right. I am an intern and my caseload is not showing. So Barb, if you would just send us an email with that information, we can investigate that. I have a client which on their campus profile has the incorrect rehab provider firm listed. How do I go about having this corrected? I am not sure if I fully understand this question.
I understand. You obviously work for a firm and you are providing services, and on the rehab transaction itself, it's showing another firm. That can be due to migration if something wasn't captured. So send us that rehab transaction, send us your information, and we will look at it, because changing these is a bit tricky, because we're data driven and we're supposed to be adhering to some data rules, but we want to look. Obviously, we know we have an issue, so we'll try to figure out the best way to get those resolved. Yeah, send them to Mike. Sorry, send them to Mike, and Mike, on this one in particular, make sure that there's a ticket created on it so I can look at it.
When I add cost to date on an R3, the estimated total costs do not always populate. So I think we can take that.
Hello, Mike. This is Lynn with Paradigm. How are you? How's the arm doing?
Right. Sorry about that, everyone. Next question. If there is an incorrect address or phone number for a client, how can we correct that with updated information?
Well, this is Mike, and every time that you are doing a new R form, it's asking you for what that employee's phone number is, so you can certainly correct it at that time. I think the addresses can also be changed, but I'm not quite clear on that. Angie, do you know?
Yeah, I can provide some additional context on that. So the addresses are actually going to pull from whatever is submitted on the claim file. So if for some reason you're seeing that a client's address is incorrect, what I would recommend doing is either having your client or someone else reach out to their adjuster for their company and just saying, hey, this is my address. You need to update it with DLI. Chances are they would have an updated address, I would assume, since they'd be cutting them checks most of the time. But we do pull that information based on what is reported to us in the division file by the claim administrator. Great. Next question. When developing forms, I see that I am listed as the QRC and my information is noted, but the state is undefined. My profile shows that my address is in Minnesota. Can we get this to connect? I will take that one offline and research it as well and see why it's not populating your state. And then, all right. I think we already answered the one about the incorrect rehab provider firm. Are we able to update injured worker addresses and phone numbers somewhere? I think we just answered that one too. Help desk deferred me to this platform. Send something. Should I send something to Mike? Yes, go ahead and send something to Mike if you have a question or an issue. I'm trying to create an R8 in Campus that was done manually. Campus is asking for a return to work date, but the case settled without a return to work. Is that, Mike Hill, do you know if return to work is a required field on the R8?
It does ask that question if there was a return to work, but the person has got like 4 options. They say no work, or if they do return to work, then they have to identify what the employment status is, and I believe wage and stuff.
Okay, so that should be able to be submitted without a return to work date.
Correct.
This next question, are you recommending we go through each one of our claims and confirm all information for clients, adjusters, attorneys, QRCs is correct and accurate?
It wouldn't hurt.
You can verify if you want. And yeah, Bobby, to your point right below that, it is the adjuster's job to change the addresses. They would do that via EDI, and then that just sets it in our claim file. So, I mean, if you would like to review that data and tell the insurance company that they're wrong, you can definitely do that. I don't think that would be an obligation, but it's something that you could do. We are getting feedback today on a number of things that need to be fixed. When will it make sense for us to try to use the system again? Next Monday, tomorrow? Brad, I'll let you speak to that one.
Well, it really depends on what action you're trying to take, because we do know some of the functionality does work. It's really, we're trying to narrow down some of these other things that some people are experiencing and some people are not. So I think it'd be best to just say what actions you're trying to take, and then we could try to guide you a little more on how to fulfill those in the system or to hold off.
Right. So it is saying that a return to work date is a required field on the R8. Mike Hill, if you wouldn't mind researching that one, just to double check on that and circling back with Kayleen to let her know exactly how that should function, that would be great. If there is a change of QRC, how will the new QRC get access to the file in Campus?
So the process is you would contact the former QRC, ask them to file an R3 change of QRC, denoting that there's going to be a change from them to you. Have them go ahead and attach a copy of the cost breakdown letter to that R3. And they should then also provide you with the RT number, and then you should be able to find it. And then you would go ahead and file a R3 normal change of QRC, talking about what your services are going to be going forward. And that's the way it best worked for us in the test environment. It's a little bit different than the rules, but that's the way we've been able to make it work.
And I think there may be, so there may be a requirement to grant access as well. We can verify that in the test system again, Mike. I'm currently doing an R8 and have no option to select it. It is a required field to have the name of the employer at closure along with return to work date and average weekly wage. Okay. I think that kind of packages in with the R8 research that we're going to do. And then just a clarifying question. So 2 R forms to note a change of QRC.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
It just says 2 R forms to note change of QRCs.
Yes.
All right. Will the rehab rules change regarding QRC changes? And who initiates the change?
Well, and the answer to that is that when rulemaking is reinitiated, then yes, that would definitely be something to be looking at. And if you recall from our past rulemaking, we certainly reach out to the QRC spectrum, vendors, insurers, all stakeholders to indicate what rules they would like to see changed and why. So when we get that going again, absolutely, we would be taking a look at that.
Can you send us an email outlining the new change of QRC process so we can reference it when needed?
Possibly, but not right away.
That might be something that we probably want to have a broad communication on and put it on the campus page as well. So we'll take that information.
I just got another question on the R3. Does the prior QRC have a timeline to submit their R form for the change of QRC?
Yeah, well, I guess the question is under what conditions are we talking about? Now, if it's agreed upon the parties, the QRC should work on getting that done right away so that the new QRC can go ahead and submit their R3 and get that process going. And I believe the rule talks about within 15 days. I'd have to go back and take a look at it. It's 5220.015. And it's going to be within that that rule that would be able to tell you specifically.
Thanks, Mike. So I see that we've got a little bit of a lull in the questions right now. So I want to go back to a question way back, just something we've talked about a little bit is the confusion with the R form button. So right now I'm on a rehab case. I'm on an RT transaction. And you're going to see here there's two buttons. It's slightly confusing because for some reason there's an arrow button on the R form details that points at submit a filing. However, you're going to want to click the R form details and it's just going to give you a list of the R forms that you're able to submit. So again, I've got just a quick reference video for that I can certainly put up on the website, but just something that's a little bit tricky to remember sometimes or a little tricky to comprehend. So just want to make sure that you all were aware of what button needed to be pressed.
Angie, you might point out on that one, Brad had talked about when do we know when a form is filed, and that R form details showed that R3 was filed on there.
Mm-hmm. Submission on here, and then there would be a new line for every R3 is my understanding.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like we got a question here. When a QRC retires and their cases are given to other QRCs in the same firm, does the retiring QRC have to do R3s for everyone?
With respect to doing the change of QRC at this point, I think that's what we just talked about. Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. So what is the submit a filing button for? So the submit a filing button is just going to give you some additional spaces to upload basically anything that you just need to add to your file that you're not filing as part of one of your R forms. So let's say you wanted to do your rights and responsibilities. I know that's one that you can do as part of a web form, But let's say you wanted to do that separately, you didn't have it ready right at the time, you could just go ahead and drag it here, select your document type, call it rights and responsibilities, and upload it. And then it would be in your file. So this is just kind of a page for you to upload anything that you're not filing as part of an R form that you think needs to be included in the file. I think it would be helpful to have a how-to to complete all of the forms, because there's specifics for each form that need to be completed. Barb, we can definitely take that feedback and work on that.
You know, we might also reference too that there's the external technical manual, which does a really nice job of showing very good pictures about that process. So I certainly would recommend everybody download a copy for your own records so that you can refer back to that.
Great. And then another one. So if there will be a line for every R3 filed, should it currently show all past R3s filed on a client, or is it just moving forward for those that, for that to be true as I only what I assume to be the last R3 filed? So I think it's not going to show, I don't believe that it would show your R3s that you would have filed prior to campus. Wouldn't be in there, but it would show the R3s that you're filing in campus. Each one would have a separate line, is my understanding.
So for clarification, Angie, you're saying it may not necessarily show all the previous legacy files that were migrated over, but going forward with all of the filing now and into the future, it would show all those R forms, correct?
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure on that. I just wanted to, that's generally what I've seen throughout the system is if it wasn't uploaded in campus, or if it wasn't filed in campus, if it's paper, it's a little bit more tricky to track the data on the paper forms. So I would lean towards it likely not showing up as a submitted R3 in that spot, but it would definitely still be in your documents tab of your case. All right. Instructions for sending a case to VRU would be helpful. So we can definitely look into that. Is the technical manual, the quick reference guide tab in Campus Central? I will actually grab that quick reference guide and put it in the chat.
Yeah, and I might also mention, getting back to the VRU, a really helpful article as to knowing when to submit a file over to the VRU as a withdrawal was covered in the August 2015 compact. In fact, there was a couple pages devoted to that. When you can use the withdrawal for the R3 or the withdrawal for the R8, which of course is only to be used for either a primary denial of liability or a further denial of liability, and that there is a dispute that's been initiated. So I hope that's helpful too.
Mike? What is the download all documents under the documents for? What documents is in this? R forms? Let me just go ahead and switch back to my test system. So I think what you're referring to is this documents tab and the download all documents. So the download all documents is truly just a way for you to download all the documents that are part of this file. So when you click the download all documents, you can either select all or you can select a subset of the documents. So I could pick a document category if I wanted. For this one, I would just do all because I only have a couple. And then if I click download documents, what'll happen is the system will just go ahead and bundle those all up in a zip file for me and put them in my downloads folder. It just takes a couple moments.
Yeah, this is really, I mean, obviously you can do it for this, or if you had some legacy documents, you can do it, download it. This really was intended for like at the claim level. People wanted the ability to download certain types of documents at the claim level when they're doing litigation or something. And so that's why we have it, and we just carried it over to all of our documents tabs. So it just, you may never use it because most likely you have a copy of your R forms already, but it's there if you need to download everything.
All right. Is the submit filing button also for filing signed R forms after they have been circulated for review and signature?
And the answer is yes. When you are submitting that R form, you are actually filing it. In fact, that would be one we could redesign, just call it file. But I hope that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I think that it was actually regarding this button with these upload attachments, but my understanding is that you would want those to actually be included with the R form submission, correct, Mike?
That's correct. So when Campus is working 100%, what you'd be doing is you'd create the form in Campus, you would save it as a draft, you would download it, print it, circulate it to the parties, bring it in, scan it, upload the materials into that draft, and then you would submit it / file it with the department.
All right. Don't see any other questions. I think we've got about 7-8 minutes left.
Yep. Yeah, let's jump over to the to the last slide, which shows the upcoming events. I think everybody's aware that we have another answer hour. Is it Thursday or Friday? Without looking at the slide.
Friday of this week. Yep.
Friday of this week. We wanted to schedule that. So we have that. Do we have any more that's not on here, Angie, about the group administrator training?
Yeah, so those I did not get onto the slide, but we will be doing group administrator training or group administrator answer hours specifically for you all on Friday after the rehab provider answer hour. So immediately following that rehab provider answer hour, there will be a 30-minute call just for any of you who are group admins or if anybody from your firm wants to submit or not submit, attend. I apologize. I just saw a question come in saying, I don't believe we are able to submit a form to DLI without serving it to another party. Can this be corrected so we can just submit to DLI? I don't believe that that is the case.
Well, I mean, there should be a case where after an R form is submitted, you can serve it through Campus.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? Or are we talking about I guess I need a little more clarification on that.
I think that this is the distribution piece of the R forms, which you can opt out of that. You don't have to distribute. If you click no on do you want to distribute this document, you should just be able to submit it and it will come to DLI. If that makes sense.
And that's the electronic filing with the department, but you still would have to follow your regular QRC responsibilities of making sure that the form is going out to all the stakeholders that are involved.
Okay. When I've tried to submit after the 15 days, I can't submit it unless I've checked another party. We'll look into that and see what would prompt it to do that.
Yeah, and if you can indicate what form that's about, I'm not sure.
Great. So as Brad said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have another one of these sessions on Friday. There may be some additional things to discuss on Friday. We'll also cover some of these fixes. And then also that group administrator answer hour will be Friday as well. If you guys have any other questions, please just continue to email Mike, myself, the help desk, and we will hopefully get you answers as soon as possible, and hopefully start kind of resolving some more of these issues that we've come across. We appreciate you all for bringing all of this information to our attention, as always, and for your time today and your patience as we work through the system.
Thank you, Angie. Well said.
All
And
right.
with that, we will adjourn the meeting, and we look forward to talking to you on Friday. Look for some new releases and new fixes that come out Thursday night. So hopefully resolve most of this, and we are getting you back in and filing, and you're able to do your job. Again, I appreciate the patience and the hard work in making this system better and making this successful. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.